If you follow my videos, you'll be very aware that I enjoy camping and boating my way around the islands off the west coast of Scotland. However, I do not enjoy socialising with the local insects, in particular the midges and ticks, which seem to enjoy my blood as much as I enjoy drinking gravy. I have tried all sorts of ways to lessen tick attacks, as these small insects can carry Lyme disease, which is not pleasant if passed on to a human. My homemade bug-off shelter certainly helped with the midges, so here is my latest attempt to keep the ticks at bay. I bought some lovely red waterproof canvas, and with the help of my late mother's sewing machine, knitted a tent for the boat so I can sleep out in the bay, well away from vampire insects. This video covers the sea trials of my new inflatable cabin cruiser. It was another low tide start at Tinault, so I dumped the boat on the shore and waited the tide to come in and float my boat. Although it was a calm sea start, I knew the forecast was for winds gusting to 25 miles per hour, which suited me out at sea as I wanted to test the handling of the boat and ensure the tent was firmly fixed. I also wanted to test it to ensure the sleeping area under the tent remained dry even in a chop. My plan was to head round the island of Lismore, then, because it was a southwest wind, camp an inflatable cabin cruiser in a sheltered bay in the north of the island, where it would be an offshore wind. I have no idea what's happened to summer this year, as it was a cold, damp and heavy overcast day as I made my way across to Lismore. I decided to stop on a small island halfway from the mainland for a warm coffee and to ensure the water would be calm on the sheltered shore, even in a fresh breeze. I was delighted to find the sea was calm, so knew I could get a good night's sleep without being rocked out the boat. I huddled down in the shelter behind the rocks to slurp my coffee and watch the seals admire my red cover handiwork, although I suspect they questioned my sanity when I had a perfectly good house back at Tinault. Who in their right mind would want to go camping on a miserable day like this, unless they're keen to try inflatable cabin cruising? I jumped back into the boat and headed off for another nearby island, just to make sure the sheltered shore there would also be calm. The seals watched my colourful boat pass by in amusement. I think I had the last laugh though when I found the sea was again perfectly calm and suitable for a smooth snooze at night. That's when I suddenly realised my camping life could be a lot easier now. When taking a tent, I always required a flat grassy area to pitch a tent, so I could never dream of camping on this island. Now I could sleep in the boat, well away from ticks and other biting insects. I happily headed off again, going southwest straight into the freshening force 3, force 4 wind, to ensure the boat had no adverse handling issues and make sure the canvas tent would remain secure. It passed this test with flying colours. Neither wind nor waves moved it an inch, and the streamline shape caused little windage. It was quite choppy going round the tide race at Lismore Lighthouse, and even the larger yachts were only using jibs, it was that windy. Once round the southern tip of Lismore, I moved close to the shore for shelter and lowered some fishing lures. Almost immediately I had 2 small mackerel, but put them back and moved on as the sea was getting quite rough now. Ahead of me I could now see the ruins of Achadoun Castle, built in the 13th century and occupied by the bishops of Argyll. I tried to land for a look, but felt it a bit exposed for the boat in the falling tide, so headed round the small island of Bernera to access the castle from the sheltered northern side. I had hoped to let the drone loose to examine the castle, but it was way too windy, so as I was killing time, decided to walk to it. I guess the tide was now full out, so the boat wouldn't dry out on the shore. I ran the anchor warp up the beach, knowing that when the boat floated, the offshore wind would keep it in the water. I was surprised to see the size of the castle and courtyard, and also to find it was built with a double wall and that parts were still in recognisable condition for a 900-year-old building. I doubt if there'll be any remains of my house in 100 years, never mind in 900 years' time. The views from the castle were lovely, looking over Mull and the Morven Peninsula, possibly unchanged since the castle was built. Then I was back to the boat and I was heading north along the western side of Lismore. The sea was sheltered by Bernard Island and the wind was also dropping a bit. Some blue sky also started to appear. In fact, it was now turning into a reasonable afternoon, so I stopped off at Ansallion Harbour for a nosy around. This was a very busy harbour 100 years or so ago. Cargo ships would have lined the harbour walls, loading their holds with their cargo of lime. Lime was Lismore's main industry at the time, and the remains of lime kilns can be seen all around the island's coast. Lime was in great demand and used for neutralising acidic soil for growing crops, and also as a main ingredient in cement for building houses. Nowadays the harbour is just a quiet backwater, home to a lone fishing boat and a few lobster creels. As the wind was still dropping, I let the drone have a good look around too. It was interesting to see all the stones around the harbour. I believe that was the ballast from the old sailing boats when they had no cargo. Having immersed myself in another bit of Lismore history, I set off again. And once again I didn't get far before coming to the ruins of another old castle. Castle Coifin, built in the 12th century by a Gaelic Norse warrior called Summerlad, whose family later became Clan MacDougall, and once again I set the drone loose to save me climbing the hill to admire it. As the afternoon was now getting on, it was time for me to get a move on, to get to a sheltered bay where I intended trying out my inflatable cabin cruiser for a night's kip. Another mile along the coast from Cloyfin Castle, I turned into port in a Morlach and landed in a sheltered corner beside an old lime kiln and ruined cottage. It was now time to assemble the cabin cruiser tent. I took a lot of time and thought into making this tent. It lies flat between the bow dodger and console, which are already part of the boat. Apart from the very front of the tent, which is tied to the boat, the rest of the tent is held to the rubbing strip by plastic cover hooks and shock cord, so it's very quick and easy to unhitch. The tent is held in a frame which also has a back frame kept in the boat. To assemble, I lift the rear of the tent and insert the back frame. Then tie it all down onto the console. It really is that simple and very secure. There is no way I could put up my Vango Banshee tent as quickly. In fact, the boat tent was assembled quicker than I could carry the conventional tent and its supplies ashore. The sides of the tent are then lowered and reattached to the rubbing straight with the shock cord and plastic clips. For the technically minded, the tent material is 600 grade polyester canvas with a PVC backing, so it's totally waterproof, but it's not breathable. To prevent condensation forming in the tent, the back frame is kept open for good ventilation, but it has a midge net cover to stop midges getting in. I sleep on a wooden board which is level when the boat is afloat and a foot off the boat floor. An air mat and sleeping bag on top of the board. I have full length for lying down with my feet under the bow canopy and my head at the console. I have room to sit up straight at the console end for dressing and undressing. It's tight, but it has as much room as a conventional single-person tent and very comfortable to sleep in. The black material on this shot shows an inner tent I made in case of condensation, but so far I found I don't need it. There has been none. I just need to take care not to bring wet clothes or boots into the sleeping area. I sleep in the boat when it's afloat at all times, so the boat stays level, and before anyone asks, no, I don't sleep with a life jacket on. I have 50 metres of rope which is tied to the shore and then the other end anchored in the bay. I'm tied onto that rope at night, and as I'm certain the shore end can't come free, even if the anchor did drag if the wind get up, it's not going to go far. The views from the bedroom window is lovely on a nice sunny night, but can be a bit dreary in a wet night, although I'm perfectly dry in a canvas cabin. Since my first trip to Lismore, I have now knitted a small bimini to shelter the rear of the boat when it rains. It has Velcro sewn around its edges so I can hang midge netting from the bimini if required, so it makes a little boat bug-off shelter. I'm delighted to say it all works well, and after 3 trips away, I have not had a single tick bite, which is a record for me. I find the gentle action of a moving boat very relaxing when sleeping at night. Of course, I have to make sure the cove I anchor in is sheltered if the wave direction changes due to a wind shift. If I get insomnia, I can even fish from the rear area until I tire myself out again. I can't roll out of bed, so hopefully there's no chance of having a wet dream rolling overboard and sleeping. I still cook my dinner and slurp gravy on the shore, but I don't walk around in the long grass to avoid the ticks. However, some evenings can be a bit blustery and cold, so I do go slightly offshore to find shelter to sit in. In those instances, I keep my launching trousers on, which keeps ankle biters off my legs. I'm also happy enough to go walkabouts, with trousers tucked into socks and covered with a pair of walking gaiters, sprayed with DEET. So I have not entirely wrapped myself in cotton wool. Speaking of which, the wild cotton, the foxgloves, and some other wildflowers I'm not sure of all look splendid just now. I'm glad this large colourful creature didn't manage to taste my blood. On this particular evening, I had to abandon the shore as midges came out in their millions. But 50 yards offshore they couldn't find me. Yep, I'm enjoying inflatable boat cabin cruising. I have now used the tent in various conditions and it travels well. It keeps the sleeping area dry when underway and keeps me dry at night when it's assembled and I'm sleeping in it. I don't travel with it erected, so windage is very little. I'm now just waiting for summer to arrive so I can go away for a week or two, as the weather this year so far has been abysmal. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.